your mind knows that this is a very dumb way to spend your time. Like, you don't want to be in this job. You don't want to grow in this career. This is not for you. Audrey, hard stop, Bagarus. I think that we got to record this in 30 minutes. This is going to be a bang pow episode where we get to talk about something that you brought up in our little team meeting yesterday. And I was like, Queen, stop. I need you to get on a platform and talk about this formally. I love this topic, which is, what's the topic?
The
That's a question
topic
for you.
is misalignment, which I do want to put a quick asterisk by and say that New Age has kind of taken this term alignment and messed with it. Would you mind if I put you on the spot and asked if you could do a quick explanation of what we mean by alignment?
Yeah, instead of this like vague spiritual inner sense, which is fine to, I think that intuition is amazing and it's God given. But if just to be like very clear about it, I think alignment is uh, living in accordance with your values, your talents, your desires, and instead of the opposite of that, which is constantly forcing yourself to do things that you hate doing, have always hated doing, and will always hate doing, most likely, unless there's a miracle. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I think that's probably the most simple, but forcing yourself to do things that you don't like. In
Yeah,
terms of like,
I
I
like
think
that.
that there are things that I do that I don't like to, that was a complicated sentence. I do things that I don't have a ton of enjoyment in because they serve a longer term goal. They're actually aligned with, oh, short term pain, long term gain. And we all inherently get that. But I think whoever is listening, if you are in a job that's really, really been grating on you, you're or hanging out with a lot of people that you're like, I've been trying for a really long time and I just do not think that this is my group. I don't feel known here. Um, or you're spending your time in ways that you're like, why do I do this? It doesn't make me feel good. All of that
Hmm.
are scenarios in which there's a lack of alignment.
Yeah, and I would encourage you to go a couple episodes back where I talk with Travis and we talk about like when we have a big conversation about resilience and grit and when it's time to push through things and when it's time to maybe pivot and how sometimes oh, unnecessary resilience or unnecessary grit or taking it too far can be harmful. So that all plays
Mm-hmm.
into this conversation as well. And the reason that I was talking about it yesterday was because this is one of the biggest things that comes up in the first call I have with clients, like our first session together. And after they do all their prep work, and then we get to meet for our nice hour and a half. I always call it our playground time, where we just get to kind of like breathe easy, talk about the ideas and concepts that have come up during their prep work, and start to untangle some things and make sense of them. And something that comes up so much is this concept where people understand they're a hard worker. And this is just an example of misalignment. They understand, I know I'm a hard worker. I'm not afraid of hard work. I'm not avoiding hard work, but I can't get myself to work hard. There's something in this job that I like cannot show up and do it, and I don't know what's wrong with me. And that's kind of my trigger phrase of like, oh, okay, there's some misalignment here because you're not broken. You just
Mm-hmm.
might not be where you need to be. And
Mm-hmm.
that is what I would say really the first step of working through misalignment would be is identifying it in the first place, identifying where this misalignment is coming in, and then also like giving yourself the permission to validate it And I think sometimes the like validate your feelings is taken a little bit too far. But this is a case where I think it's really valuable, and especially to have that outside perspective, someone in your life, a coach, whoever it might be, to say like, yeah, this doesn't align for you. Because I know that my dad said this to me when I was struggling in work, and he just said, "You've never been afraid of hard work." I was like,
Mhm.
that's so true. So what's going on here? Why can't I figure this out? And it took my own career coaching journey to figure it out, but allowing myself to understand like there's something broken. There's something broken, and there's something that I can do to
Yeah.
fix it. So I would say that's the first
There's
step.
something
Anything
broken and
else to
it's
add, Kelsey?
I love that. Like, I would say there's something broken and it's not me. Because I think that
Yeah.
their procrastination can actually be a really good sign that your body and your brain is giving you because it's smart. And you're not stupid. You know, inherently, even if you're not consciously paying a lot of attention to it, subconsciously, you realize you are, if you're listening to this, you are most likely in a position of opportunity where you get to know about options and you have at least some opportunities to act on them. You know that you have a variety of paths that you could go on. You're uh, hopefully not in a desperate situation where I think if you were, your brain would be like, I have the motivation to show up to work and provide because this is just what I need to do. And so I think your brain could recognize when it's time to not procrastinate. I do generally believe that. This is just like a thought experiment, food for thought. Like, let's say that's true. Then if you are in chronic procrastination now, it might be because it could be because of a lot of things. But one option I would like to offer is your mind knows that this is a very dumb way to spend your time. Like, you don't want to be in this job. You don't want to grow in this career. This is not for you. So, why would you, except for sheer force of will, which is very hard to keep up over time? Something will have to go. And at times that's your health, whether physical or mental, when you are chronically pushing yourself in a job that is just not for you. And I realize that all of these things are quite privileged to say, but it's because we quite literally are privileged in this day and age. We're not in an agrarian society anymore. You do have the opportunity to look at all the things that other people are doing on social media and be like, I could imagine myself doing that. Oh, I wish I could have that. So why don't you? So I think that the first point we wanted to make is that if you are feeling really, really stupid right now and lazy and like a huge procrastinator, that is not who you are. It's the circumstances that you're in. And we want to encourage you that what you know about yourself, which is deep down, like what your dad said to you, Audrey, which is you're not afraid of hard work. You've never been afraid of that. That's not who you are. And I've seen you work really hard. I see the hours you're clocking. Like, now that you're in a job that you're aligned with and you love. And I do the same. It's like there are certainly some tasks where I feel procrastination, but those are the ones where I remind myself and do firmly believe that this is creating a future that I'm aligned with. And I really, really like the idea of, and so I'm okay with momentary pain. And so I can eventually get over that. It does take some willpower, but it doesn't diminish my mental or physical health over time because I'm like, no, no, no. I know that I'm going in a good direction. But I think that my intuition, I could really tell when I'm like, I hate this because I should hate this because I shouldn't be spending my life this way. And so with that, what are the 3 steps that you could take to fix it? I would say, Audrey, what were the 3 steps we agreed upon? You're going to say them in such a cute way. The first one is like identifying misalignment.
Well,
What are the things that you hate?
identifying and validating. Yeah.
Yeah. And validate what I said, that yeah, like thank your mind, thank your intuition for being like, thank you for this being my gut reaction. You know, I don't love this forever. but it might be here for now for a good reason. And of course, this doesn't mean that I'm going to become a flaky person that doesn't have grit. Of course, this doesn't mean I'm going to change jobs every few months as soon as something annoys me. You're paying attention to your misalignment now so you could choose a path that you could go long and far and wide and deep in later. And that is where you can know that you'll probably experience a lot less resistance. Will certainly experience it at first because doing anything new is uncomfortable by definition because it's new. But more and more, you'll be an action taker because you don't have to convince yourself to do things. You're just like, oh, no, I love this. I love what I'm building towards. So identify your misalignment. List out all the frustrations that you have right now. List out all the things that you want to be different. And then give yourself permission to look at that list with a long, hard stare and say, I allow myself to go after this. Like, is this so crazy? Is this so entitled? Is this so stupid, really? Like, how many years do I have left? Do I have 5 good years in my career? Do I have 50 years left in my career? Who knows? But wherever you're at, you likely have a good chunk of time ahead of you. So I think I'm going to have to reckon with this now. Tell yourself that. I think I'm going to have to reckon with this now so I don't continually fight through it later and later still. And, what are some other steps that you would suggest, Audrey, after acknowledging it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Acknowledging it, and then we had a second step in there of identifying the opposite. So identify where the misalignment is, but then also identify where you would then be aligned. So
Mm-hmm.
if you hate just sitting at your desk and being in Excel all day long, if that's a misalignment, what would the opposite of that be? Or just another option. Oh, I actually would prefer to be in meetings with people.
Mm-hmm.
I'd prefer to be doing the presentations that happen after people spend the time in Excel, or I would prefer to do a mix of both. So get that clarity on where you actually would feel aligned in the different functions of your job or a different job. And then, like you said, give yourself the permission to actually commit to that and to go after it. And there's another sub step in there of expose yourself to opportunities where people actually have jobs like this. So you've heard us talk about informational interviews a ton. I mean, it's just it goes
We should
back to the
probably
you
talk
don't
about
know
it
what you don't
more.
know, and there's no way. Yeah. Yes. So informational interviews at this step would be reaching out to people who, okay, so let's say you don't want to be in Excel all day long for 8 hours a day, sorting through data. You'd actually rather be the person who's presenting the data. Go find somebody either at your company, another company in your family, somebody who does that part of a data analysis job or whatever the title might be. Find them and just have a quick 20, 30-minute conversation with them. Make sure it's very focus though. The biggest mistake I see people do when they get into these conversations is just treat them as kind of a coffee chat, like tell me about your life, and then they don't really get any real answers out of it. Ask them the very specific questions of how are you spending most of your time? Are you in Excel all day long, or are you building presentations? How often do you give the presentations? Who are you giving the presentations to? What are you spending the majority of your day doing? What do your tasks look like? Those specific questions, to get specific information and to get data that you can then make decisions on, like, oh, I would like that. Oh, that seems cool. I'm kind of jealous that you get to do that. Like, sometimes it's okay to pay attention to jealousy because it tells us interesting things
Mm-hmm.
that about our desires. And that is how you can start identifying opportunities for what alignment would actually look like in your career. And you're not going to find alignment if you don't know what it looks like. I use this example. I don't think it was I think it might have been on the podcast actually, where it's like, you can't find Waldo unless you know what Waldo looks like. So you need to identify what that alignment looks like to be able to even find it in the first place. So that's why that's step 2. And then step 3 is giving yourself the permission to actually go after it. If they have that job, why can't you get that job? And oh, trust me, I've heard every excuse in the book. I know you have too, Kelsey. And we've also seen people land jobs who just on paper, they shouldn't have. I'm doing air quotes. A lot of people would say they shouldn't have landed the job for whatever reasons. They would have thrown every excuse in there, but they still landed it because they believed that they could, and they did have relevant experience to think through. They just had to, or to speak to. They just had to get creative on how they presented it. That's where, honestly, having a career coach is really helpful throughout all of this. But having just an outside perspective to help you see your own experience in a new way. And here's the thing: if you are aligned, if you're working towards alignment, first of all, you're going to start to feel that in your body more of just, I don't even want to say peace, but just more like
I just feel
calmness
conviction,
maybe, or just more
calm.
excitement.
I
Yeah.
just feel conviction that I'm in
And
the right place.
drive, like that natural drive.
I like all of those things. All of
And
those things are better to feel than misalignment.
yeah, yeah. And if you are following that alignment or searching for that alignment, you probably have been naturally pulling towards it in your jobs. You just might not have been aware of it. So if you've always been naturally pulling towards wanting to do presentations, look back on your career. Have there been places where you've done presentations where you kind of didn't need to? Have you found public speaking opportunities when you didn't need to? Have you done that through volunteer organizations by like teaching Sunday school? That's presenting, whatever it might be. If you are feeling a draw towards those kinds of activities, you've probably done them in some way in your past. So that's where the creativity comes through, and just the confidence to be able to actually speak to that, even if the experience is a little less conventional.
Yeah, and exactly.
Anything
And
to
by
add,
the way,
Kelsey?
like the activities that you were suggesting are just an example, but insert any other activities that you like. Like we've had a client that just naturally gravitated towards candle making and she made a job out of it just fine. And so, whatever that is, I think identify people who are already doing that, do informational interviews with them to confirm two things: that you actually want that job, or is there a different one that you should consider instead? And then the second purpose, among many actually, is to prove to yourself that it is possible. And from there on out, I think that your main job should be filling your mind with evidence that it is possible and accept the things that are required to get there. So is short-term sacrifice required to make a change? Yeah, probably. Like allow yourself to be misunderstood. Allow people to not understand where you're going. Honestly, they're probably not going to be in your life. Like, this sounds heartless, but it's just true.
Hmm.
Like, allow them to go find their people. You are probably not their person. Release them. And I realized, like, when I made a career change, not for any dramatic reason, I just naturally realized that the people that I kept on hanging out with, it changed. The group changed. Um, and I think that, yeah, allow yourself to be misunderstood, allow yourself to be uncomfortable as you take new action, and allow yourself to take a job that maybe doesn't have every single perfect thing that you're looking for at first, but it is getting you in the right direction. That's certainly what I and many of our clients have done in the past. Like, I took opportunities. I certainly took a massive pay cut to start my own business, and I chose to support myself by cleaning houses. Do you think that those were the hardest days of my life? No, actually, I was having so much fun because I was like frolicking in the realization that all of those silly excuses didn't have control over me anymore. And I loved that. I loved it. So, I think that don't underestimate how fun your sacrifice season can be to change, like put your life in
Hmm.
a new direction. We've seen that with other clients too, where they're like, I just feel so light now, and I feel so like full of hope and joy because I know that all of those things that held me back are imagined. They're not real. And it's just amazing to have like a new lease on life. and to firmly commit to living in alignment, not for just your own selfish reasons, but I believe that I firmly believe, let me underscore, that God made you to be attracted to things that a lot of other people don't care about. And we need you to care about those things. We need you to do those tasks that you love. It actually creates a ton of inefficiency in the market to have a lack of what's called talent utilization. Like we have like a talent pool. If you just think about the United States, there's all these citizens and everyone has their own capabilities and talents, not just the trained ones, depending on like what they did for education and what they've been doing for work, but the innate ones, the things that you have innate talents in. And I think it hurts society to have citizens that are not proactively trying to maximize what they could do uniquely well. And so I really believe that it's your duty to pay attention to this.
Amen. I agree.
Bada bing, bada boom. Oh my gosh, we did this in a crisp 22 minutes. I hope that everyone enjoyed this episode. If you need any support identifying what your areas of misalignment are and what you should do instead, please reach out to us at thecalledcareer.com and we'd be happy to hop on a free call with you this week.
I think that's all we got.
That's all we got.
Cool. Thanks, Kelsey.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. To get an even more meaningful head start into your calling, head to thecalledcareer.com, where my fellow career coach Audrey and I have created a whole suite of free resources and tools to help you get clear and get a job today. For those who are definitely ready to land a job or start a business in the next 6 to 12 months, we're here to help you biblically and practically discern your calling through coaching, reflection, and deep market research. Identify the job that's aligned with it, even if you currently have no idea what you want. Rebrand your resume and LinkedIn to translate your background to appeal to your future boss. P.S. We take this off your plate and do this for you. Also, we'll teach you how to land referrals and get attention from leadership through networking. Again, if that makes you nervous, we have these emails and LinkedIn messages literally written for you so you don't have to sweat. We're also here to give you unlimited interview practice so you're prepared to address every elephant in the room and knock selling yourself out of the park. Then we'll round out with helping you negotiate your salary so you land thousands more. Just so you know, recent clients have gotten $8,000 to $50,000 salary increases, even though they were totally non-traditional candidates. That's because we specialize in helping non-traditional career pivoters land jobs they're ecstatic to serve in. It takes work, but we're here to see you through until the end, when we're celebrating that day that you send me an email in all caps and you say, Kelsey, I got the job. Then you could be on the podcast. But I'll be here until then, keeping you accountable and encouraged by meeting with you literally until you land the job you want, even if that's up to 6 months from now within our program. Apply to join at thecalledcareer.com, and I'll see you next week here at Answer the Call. Bye for now.